welcome to part 2, the social tax on thinking. If your culture punishes thought, it will eventually punish the truth. You ever worked with a guy or girl? Brilliant, curious. They saw connections that no one else did. They used to bring these big, thoughtful ideas to meetings. And then a few months in, maybe a year or two in, it stopped. When asked why, they say, well, it's just easier to nod. People don't want to think. They just want to win. Hopefully, that's when it hit you. They weren't burnt out. They'd been socially taxed for thinking. See, there's a hidden tax in most workplaces and online spaces today. It's the cost of curiosity. Every time you ask a hard question or hold a nuanced view, you risk getting labeled difficult, contrarian, naive, political, blind. And most people just decide it's not worth it. Thinking out loud used to be how we made progress. Now it's how you get roasted in a group chat. Online, it's even worse. Thoughtfulness doesn't trend. Certainty does. There's a dogma of certainty these days. So we've built a world where being quiet feels smart because it's safe. We all know this dance. Scroll past the argument instead of stepping in. Stay neutral instead of honest. Smile in the meeting, vent in private. That's the social tax at work. It's what happens when courage costs more than compliance. Look, I'm guilty of it as much or more as anybody else. But I'm trying to do better. So if you're a leader, here's the uncomfortable truth. You might be a tax collector. If your team filters every word before they speak, that's not professionalism, that's fear. Great leaders lower the tax on thinking. They model curiosity instead of judgment. They say things like, tell me more, instead of, why would you think that? They create meetings where disagreement isn't defiance, it's contribution. And they know something most managers forget. Silence isn't agreement, it's withdrawal. Remember the colleague, the generic colleague that stopped sharing ideas we talked about earlier? What happens when they finally quit? 6 months later, the company hires a consultant to help reignite creativity. They get paid 6 figures to replace the voice they'd already silenced for free. Leaders, listen, you can't outsource courage. If your people don't feel safe to think, they'll rent their brains somewhere else. So here's your challenge this week. At your next meeting, ask one question. What's an idea we haven't said out loud yet because it feels risky? Then thank whoever answers it. Create permission to think out loud. That's how you start lowering the social tax. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more people who stay quiet to fit in. It needs more people who think out loud, even when it costs them. See you tomorrow.